are definitely not behind that restricted access thing.
Well, is the audio working now? Come on. I apologize. I have my new rig. Everything, audio. There we go. Oh, thanks. Absolutely fantastic. Hello and welcome to Office Hours, the live component here at the facility where good old Professor Kyle opens up his blast doors, as you just saw, and he allows all of you nerdy staff members and members of the general public who just wandered through a ominous-looking blast door to ask me any old sciencey, pop culture-y kinds of questions, what I think about asteroids, why deepfakes are going to destroy democracy, all that kind of thing. As we want to do, we take all of your comments, questions, corrections, and comments about my hair and face, but we also go through a number of topics, as we're wont to do at the facility each week. This week, we're not talking about a whole lot of things. We'll be talking about deepfakes. Of course, we'll be taking one of your comments from the latest episode of the facility. Still sounds like he's 100 miles away. Does it? No, it doesn't. Does it? Anyway. And we'll be talking about warp drives as well. If things look different, that's because I'm on my new streaming PC and new camera, same microphone, but hopefully everything will be running nice and smooth for everyone aside from the start of the stream, which didn't go super well, but I'll edit that out, don't worry about it. And of course, if you want to talk directly with me and hope that I see it even more so, great. Even more so, you can use Super Chat on YouTube, and I will try my best to get to all of the Super Chats that I possibly can, but if I don't see it, you're still simping for science, which is great. For example, I'm looking straight at the month. You see that? Elizabeth Calvert, as always, with the $50 donation, says, "Hey, Kyle, thank you, as always, for what you do. My tiny human Alex wants to know, why does gravity make mass..." Sorry. Well, Elizabeth's tiny human, gravity itself doesn't make mass. Mass affects gravity around it. Mass affects the space-time, the curvature of space-time around it, and the curvature of space-time is something that we'll be getting to later today when we talk about warp drives. But more specifically, there's a field, this Higgs field, which has an associated particle, the Higgs boson, and that's what imbues matter with mass. But that's pretty technical. Holy shnikes. Everybody. We have a €500 donation from Z1over. I should be able to pronounce that based on how much... A €500 donation says, "First live stream I managed to catch, and I bring my bad luck with me. I guess I better leave before I cause ARIA to self-destruct." That is absolutely incredible. Thank you for your support. Of course, it all goes towards simping and my hair condition budget. Thank you so much. That's, you know what? I'm hopping right into this next segment just for you by using my brand new button down here. So on the back of that incredible donation, we're going straight into deepfakes. And I want, if you've heard me talk anything about social media in the recent months and weeks, especially online, you probably know where I'm going with this, but these faces scare me. These faces scare me, not because they don't look like people or it's an uncanny valley. Rather, these faces scare me because they are uncannily perfect. None of these people exist. All of these people were created by algorithms, by artificial intelligence that looked at thousands and thousands and thousands of pictures of human beings, came up with a number of variables that says human beings generally look like this, and it can randomly spew out a person that does not exist. You can go to thispersondoesn'texist.com and it'll bring you one of these photos. Now, I say it scares me because of its perfection. If I told you that these people existed, you'd probably believe me. And that's the problem. And that's the problem with so-called deepfake technology. And earlier this week, in the last 7 days or so, 2 different deepfake technologies went viral. And I think that's a bad thing. So the first one that went viral is this here. So this is a heritage website where you can upload an old photo and they'll apply algorithms to it. Apply algorithms to it to give it a lifelike motion. So what a computer has done has said, if I move these aspects of this picture in certain ways, it will look more human. And it iterates and iterates until it looks really, really good and indistinguishable, almost. I mean, you can still tell that something weird is happening with her face, but we're talking about a photo that's decades and decades old, and a computer just doing this with 0 footage. Another one that went viral is Tom Cruise on TikTok. This is not Tom Cruise, but this is a guy who has deepfake technology, and he has deepfaked himself as Tom Cruise, by which I mean a neural network-like algorithm learning from photos of Tom Cruise's face can projection map, not really, but map Tom Cruise's face onto whoever this dude's face is, and it's so good, putting on glasses, moving around, nothing prevents this deepfake from being nearly perfect. Right? And I think this is tremendously dangerous. Why, Kyle? Well, obviously there are fun examples of deepfake technology. There's even whole TV shows. I think there's an Adult Swim TV show all about using deepfake technology. And the technology itself is pretty amazing, but it is potentially devastating. By which I mean, look again at these faces. They're perfect. They are perfect representations, which means that right now, free-to-use software, and that's open to anybody, can make synthetic media that can fool probably any person on Earth. Now, it's only a hop, skip, and a jump before video is also perfect with technology you can get on your smartphone. I'm guessing within the next year, if it's not already, there's going to be some app or something that you can download on your phone for free and start creating synthetic media. So you can make Shakespeare rap Jay-Z, and that's something that happened. Okay? Or Jay-Z rap Shakespeare, rather. And that's something that happened, and there was a lawsuit over it because it was so good that it infringed on their copyright. So now why I'm saying this is, again, some fun examples, but this is a harbinger of the coming infocalypse, or the information apocalypse. Once everyone has the ability to create perfect synthetic media, truth is going to evaporate even more than it has done so already. I mean, in the last couple of years, of course, objective reality has been undermined by things like social media, where we can't really agree even on what reality is anymore, what the world looks like, what people think and do. Before that, there was another movement, kind of like a speak your truth kind of movement where, anything that is your opinion that you believe in is true, which is, of course, not what truth means. Speak your truth as long as it's the truth, is what I say. But so you have this undermining of what objective reality is, how we can agree with each other what facts about the universe are. And then you have technology like this. And now what this technology is going to allow people, anyone in the world, to do is make anyone say anything and do anything. This technology, like a lot of scary technologies, started out in pornography, specifically on Reddit. You may remember that a couple of years ago. And there was also lawsuits about this. It made it such that you could make anyone do anything. And to the untrained eye, if you didn't tell anybody, it'd be like, wow, that's that person doing that. And not just for pornography, of course, you can make world leaders say whatever you want. You can make a congressperson do whatever you want. And when that gets perfect, nothing's going to be real anymore in our information ecosystem. Why? Because the answer, the way to counteract this is going to be to say, oh, well, that's been faked. It's not me. But now all liars get a liar's benefit in that they can say or do anything. And because the technology is so good, they have a plausible explanation. Oh, that was deepfaked. That's not me. I never said that. They never said that. That person did this thing. And you cannot counter that when representations are perfect representations of people and voices and movement and that kind of thing. So you can easily imagine situations where, you know, some synthetic media goes viral in some country and it leads to some terrible disaster. I mean, there's examples like this all around the world where some guy was singled out as like a kidnapper of children in Asia, falsely accused of this, and some people saw him walking past the school and I think they beat him to death. Now, those are just the small examples. What happens when anyone with any intention can make anyone do anything or say anything in a perfect representation of their face and voice? I'm trying to scare you here because it is scary. So Kyle, you're usually so fun and happy-go-lucky. What do we do about this? Well, dear viewer, I don't know. The real problem right now is that the technology is going to always outpace the regulation. So there's always going to be people doing this kind of thing. But we need to be serious about this technology, and we need to start thinking of ways to digitally watermark it, content ID it, these kind of things, so we can immediately tell when something is synthetic media or not. Again, there's so many awesome examples of what we could do with this. We could create TV shows completely synthetically with the best version of the best actors and actresses, and have these incredible representations that we could, in our wildest dreams, never do with real people. But I think it could also fundamentally obliterate the underpinnings of society. Conversations between people where we can trust that it's a real person. Once that's eliminated, then everything is nothingness. And it's going to be scary. So I wanted to open with this kind of scary bit because these examples are going viral. These examples are being used by people for fun ends, but the technology is a Pandora's box. Once it's not just some dude acting like Tom Cruise, it might get really, really scary. The infocalypse is upon us. It sounds dirty when I say infocalypse, doesn't it, Kevin? Wait, you're over there now? Oh, don't sneak up on me like that. Caleb Fink with the 20 says, "Sup, longtime stream lurker, lifelong science simp here. Hey Kyle, do you still think there will be any upsides to deepfake technology?" Well, yeah, like I said a couple of different examples. You could, like that ancestry thing, you could bring to life old photos of a deceased relative, for example, or you could create synthetic media. Say, you could make any kid's birthday party amazing by giving them a digital representation of their favorite person in the world or something like that. But again, you could also use it to make a world leader on social media say they're about to nuke North Korea. you know. Kishore, my good friend Kishore, who works over at Adam Savage's Tested, very good guy. Last time I saw you, you were buying me a bunch of beers at Dragon Con, and I was taking photos of you as you cosplayed as the Masons from The Simpsons, and that was... I think I stayed up for like 36 hours. Kishore, happy 1 year trapped in the facility. May you be trapped there for many more years longer. Well, thank you. The thing is, I forgot how to get out. There was a schematic around here for an elevator, but I forgot where all the... There was a deep fake of ARIA telling me where all the doors were and were not, and it turned out it wasn't her. It was a synthetic of a synthetic, and now my mind's all over the place. Who am I even... AK Dragoon with the 20 says, hey Kyle, Chad from maintenance again. Oh, crap. So we got all the COUSs rounded up again after the laser eyes incident earlier this week, and I had a question. Why do biological scientists use Latin names to differentiate species? Well, that must be just a legacy thing. It must have just been how it was. Like, taxonomy must have just started with that when taxonomy started. I don't think there's like a logical reason to it. Same way with like naming of the planets and stuff. And now we name, insects after Deadpool and stuff. So nothing is sacred. A reluctant hand sandwich with the 20 says, hey, Spartan brand Thor. All right. Love the show. Is there anything that can be done when people interpret fact-checking as confirmation that their crackpot beliefs are true and being silenced by some giant conspiracy? All hail the basilisk. That's the problem with conspiratorial thinking is that everything is inside of the conspiracy. So any fact-checking that you do, any facts that you present, someone who already believes in conspiracy theories is part of the conspiracy. It's an Ouroboros of bullshit. Quote me on that. That's conspiracy theories are an Ouroboros of bullshit. That's exactly what it is. Sorry, tiny humans, if you're listening. Torma with the 20 says, hey Shile, love the cow, or more specifically, taste dairy. What are you talking about? Speaking of, what's your take on regular dairy versus non-dairy milk? Milk made from coconuts, cashews, almonds, etc. I have no opinion. I used to drink milk a lot as a kid. I love milk. I love cereal and milk, Oreos, and a nice glass of chocolate milk after a hard day of climbing is always nice. But I don't really drink milk anymore. I think it's because my partner doesn't drink milk at all, and so I don't as well. Aria thinks milk is gross. Felix Chabot with the Canadian 5 says, hey Kyle, AI image processing sure is scary, but right now, AI text generation is even more advanced. Spam bots are going to get very dangerous. That's the problem. As this technology advances, everything is going to get more sophisticated and harder to identify and harder to deal with. And I don't see any way out of it at the moment. Excuse me. Torma with another 20 says, boss, we have a containment breach. The Shiba Inos have escaped and are trying to take Aria to you-know-where. Oh, crap. Yeah. Yeah, it's the administrator. You know how you have call the Shiba Inus on, level 4. They've escaped containment. They all have sticks. They're telling you to go back to horny jail? Who taught them to talk? Ah, the memes and Elon Musk. God, I hate that guy. Okay, love you too. Bye. William Castillo with the $10. How do we know this isn't a deep fake of you? Tell us something only the real Kyle would know. It's true. It could be a deep fake of me right now, couldn't it? What's something only I know? Well, okay. The real Kyle couldn't do this. Here's a photo of me and Aria from a while ago. Fake Kyle wouldn't have access to that unless he killed me and took my place. Darren Hyham, whose name I recognize because I believe I say your name at the end of an upcoming episode. So can we use deepfakes to make you declare that the Earth is indeed flat and wearing masks during this pandemic is pointless? That's pretty scary. Yes, that's what I mean. You could turn me into the worst science guy there is. And we already know the worst science guy. I'm not going to take a shot at anybody. I almost did. That Ancient Aliens guy. Oh, man. Oh, people are saying, no, that was a deep fake photo too. How else can I prove to... I don't have time on this stream to prove to you that I'm not deep faked. How could I... Okay, now, so see, now, this is a legitimate question. How would I prove to you, who don't know me personally, thank God, that I'm not deep faked? What could I do, right? Because my voice can be synthesized, and my face can be synthesized. Oh, man. Am I? Am I deepfaked? I'm freaking out a little bit. Payaso Cushion says, what if Elon Musk offered you a job? Well, if it was at, like, SpaceX, I'd probably take it. I'd make videos for SpaceX. Oh, no. Aaron Brody, with the $500 donation, coming in hot, says, hey, Kyle, Jesus man, are you the one who made the meme? Thank you, Aaron. Oh, man, it just must be something about this new... Oh, you should see my gaming rig here. It is just... You guys are being absolutely fantastic. That's going to go directly towards some sort of deepfake, anti-deepfake technology. I don't know. Thank you so much, Aaron. You are... This next segment is just for you. But it's about someone else. But it's just for you. Peer review. So, as I want to do on every episode of Office Hours, I like to take one of your comments from the latest episode of the facility. I like to highlight it. And then I like to give you a plaque and an honorary membership to the facility. Kevin here has a plaque, and you will get it if you are honored. Last week, we talked about how I totally failed to make a supersonic steel bullwhip that broke the sound barrier, and I hit my leg real good and real hard. But I still wanted to publish the video because I wanted to show that not everything always succeeds, and that failure, as Science Daddy Adam Savage would say, failure is always an option. So in that video, I was totally not able to do this, but a commenter thought that was totally fine. Why? Well, the hydraulic press channel commented, and yes, I did check. It is the hydraulic press channel, which is pretty cool. And the comment reads, I'm pretty sure that it's physically impossible to generate enough energy with one whipping motion to get the steel chain to move faster than the speed of sound. If you have just, let's say, 50 grams of chain moving on at that speed and the rest of the whip is motionless, you still need about 3,000 joules of energy. If the whole movement takes 2 seconds, you should be averaging 1.5 kilowatts of power while doing that, while trying to not hit yourself and die. So, it definitely seemed like there was an energy situation when I was swinging my chain around, in that, in that when I was swinging the chain, it didn't seem like I was able to get the whole chain off the ground with my whipping motion, and I was whipping and whipping pretty good. And like I said, the video of the dude, the shirtless dude, whipping the chain and cracking it, I think something else was going on there. I think there was some kind of legitimate whip on the end of their whip, and that's what was making the cracking motion. It wasn't a full bullwhip. My whip weighed like between 20 and 40 pounds. and flinging 20 and 40 pounds at a length off of your body is very, very difficult. Just ask a shot putter. So hydraulic press channel coming in and making me feel a little bit better about myself in that, yeah, I failed. But maybe I failed at something that I was destined to fail at anyway. So for that hydraulic press channel, you don't need any accolades from me. You are a highly successful and fun channel already. And I wish you all the best over there if you're watching. But now you are an honorary member of the facility. oh, fantastic. Kevin, hit him up. You're not saying what I think you're saying, are you? Well, if the dogs keep putting people in horny jail, maybe we need to find, maybe people shouldn't be so Just a second. Hydraulic press. Stay with me. I'll be right back after this short commercial break. Hi, it's your boy Kyle Hill here. Just wanted to quickly say thank you to everyone for the well wishes for our channel anniversary at the facility, which was just 2 days ago. It was the hardest thing that I've ever had to do professionally. It took months and months of my life and even more time off my life just thinking and stressing out about it. But I'm so happy with what we've done and for all of you being here. And I couldn't do any of what I do without all of your support. So thank you for everything you've said, everything you've done, interacting with me, and I hope that going forward for more years at the facility that I can live up to be the kind of teacher or educator for you that you deserve. We have Justin with the $50 donation says, "Hey Kyle, all the love to the Hair Man show and the science. Thank you for uploading analysis of your failure with the chain whip. Studying why things don't work is just as important to science as studying all the successes. All hail the almighty basilisk." I agree, and that's why I wanted to highlight this video, that specifically because there is a confirmation bias in science, and there's a confirmation bias especially on places like YouTube where people are only showing the most super awesome stuff, and they're never showing you when they fail and when things go wrong. I mean, everything is so curated these days. Everything is so clean and polished. You never see anyone's real life anymore. You never see what they really look like, where they really go, what they really do. And so I wanted to show you a bit of the warts and all of that kind of endeavor. So thank you. Cheech Ola with the Australian $31 says, "G'day Kyle, I saw a video this week of a person on top of a snowy mountain experiencing audible static electricity in their hair and hands. What's going on there?" Someone in the Discord sent me that too. A crazy amount of static electricity being generated on the top of a snowy mountain. Now, I don't know what specifically is going on, but if I had to guess, how is lightning generated? Ask yourself. Well, when you have a large cloud that is large enough to be circulating air inside of it with different temperatures and stuff, and the convection currents, when that happens, particles, be it dust, be it snow, be it, well, dust and ice, water even, when it's in this turbulent airflow, it's hitting each other, and these collisions impart electrons. Just like rubbing silk on some PVC or a balloon on your hair. These collisions can impart electrons, and when enough of this happens, it starts to build up charge differential. So you could have a majority of the cloud starting to generate a negative charge, and that is in opposition, relatively speaking, to the overall positive charge of the Earth beneath it. And when this charge differential gets big enough, the breakdown, the distance between the cloud and the ground can now be broken down by that amount of voltage. And the breakdown distance for air is about 10,000 volts per centimeter. So just a meter of separation is like you need 1,000,000 volts to jump like a spark plug from 1 meter across. So you can imagine then, and as you know, that lightning has this enormously massive charge differential that equalizes itself because it's going so far, right? So what I'm guessing is going on at the top of this mountain is that it's close enough to clouds, turbulent airflow, or maybe it's just snowing a lot. There's a lot of debris in the air, a lot of sand and dust particles being blown off on top of this mountain, that it's creating the kind of charge differentials that you'd find inside of a thundercloud. And that's where all this, these small, and then if you're, an object that has a relatively speaking positive charge, then interacting with you, you get these small equalizations, right? And charge builds up at pointy bits because of the surface area. So at the tips of your fingers and at your nose and stuff like that, you'd feel this kind of static shock. I think that's probably what's going on. Majorly Awesome with the 10 says, happy anniversary, Kyle. Also, happy birthday to all the AOs out there. Thank you. Thank you for your service. Of course. Fatal Error with the 5. Love to all the science simps. I'm on my new gaming rig, and I want to share some fun information with you, as I will be sharing until we do this. But I think Office Hours is going to start changing a little bit, where maybe we extend out these streams and I actually stream some sciencey, science fiction-y games with you in addition to talking science and talking all these topics, taking your comments and stuff. I think we're going to be streaming some sci-fi games so that your science boy can talk about them and play them at the same time, so that I also don't have to talk for an entire hour without stopping, because that is difficult. But I now have confirmation that the first game that we're going to do that with is the Mass Effect Remastered series. So I will be playing through Mass Effect Remastered with you on stream for some amount of time while talking about the science there and taking your comments and questions. And we might be joined, well, we will be joined by a very special guest. Commander Shepard herself. Let's go on to our next topic while you process that information. Not supposed to see that? Okay, so new stream setup. Warp drives. There was a paper that was recently highlighted after it went through peer review talking about the feasibility of warp drives. Now, you may be familiar with the concept of a warp drive. A warp drive is a way to travel superliminally beyond the speed of light across all space and time. And it does this by not moving you, an object with mass, at the speed of light or beyond the speed of light. Einstein's equations make it very clear, and we can confirm this through mathematics alone, that you cannot take an object that is moving at below the speed of light and make it move faster than the speed of light. It would take an infinite amount of energy to do so, and an infinite amount of energy is not a physical thing. It's impossible, right? So how do we get around this light barrier? Well, one of the ideas in early science fiction and in theoretical physics, and it's been popularized, is the warp drive. And what the warp drive does is it doesn't move you, it moves space-time. Now, I've never really understood this explanation in a good way, so here I have a visual aid that is going to not look so great, but it's going to be this. Okay, so I have a rubber band here. This rubber band can expand and contract, and I can make it expand and contract. Now imagine that this is just a two-dimensional thing of space-time, and I exist here in space-time. Now, if I wanted to travel from one end to another, I'd have to travel along this space-time continuum. But another way I could get from point A to point B is to change the shape of space-time itself, not necessarily move myself. So instead of moving from point A to point B across space-time, what I could do is I could contract space-time in my direction of motion and expand space-time in the other direction. And then when I deactivate this weird little sci-fi move that I did, I'm now here. So I've traveled in space-time by moving space-time, by contracting it. I'm not moving myself, but I'm contracting and expanding space-time such that I can be at a different location at a different time. Now, the benefit of that is that if you use a warp technology like that to travel a distance faster than you would be able to at the speed of light, you have now broken the light speed barrier. So you can imagine folding space-time in such a way that I could get from the facility to Jupiter in 1 second. That would be super light speed travel, but because space itself is expanding and contracting, nothing with mass is breaking Einstein's predictions. And we know that space can expand and contract, and we also know that space can expand with no speed limit. We think that now that the universe is expanding and expanding in an accelerating fashion, that the edges of the universe are now expanding faster than the speed of light, because space-time is space. It doesn't have mass in the way that you do. I've said what I wanted to say. So, if space-time can expand and contract faster than the speed of light, there's no speed limit, then if you could use this kind of warping technology, you could do this sort of thing, right? Now, the most common version of this warp drive that you've probably heard of is the Albuquerque drive, an idea from a theoretical physicist, and he wanted to do this. He wanted to do basically this. There was always a couple big problems with this. One, to expand and contract space-time in this kind of way, you needed, because it would take an infinite amount of energy to travel superluminally, you needed, the equations would say, negative energy densities. That is to say, something non-physical, something that doesn't exist. Having negative energy is not a defined quantity. It's like just trying to solve an equation, where it's like, oh man, I'd get the right answer if this was just a negative value. I guess I'll just put that negative value there. So the Albuquerque drive needed negative energy. Negative energy isn't a thing. The second problem was that Albuquerque was just assuming that this could travel superluminally. It was inherent in his equations that he was assuming this was possible. And you know what assuming does. It makes an ass out of you and assumption. You and assumption, rather. So those were two giant problems. What a new paper comes out and says, that I'm finally getting to, is that it has solved the non-physicality problem. It has solved the negative energy problem. And it has done this by kind of rejiggering some of those assumptions. So in this version of a warp drive, which is wholly physical, you would have a passenger area, and this is where you would sit inside of a warp bubble, which is the white stuff you see around it, inside of a warp bubble, and then there would be this warp shield, or whatever they decided to call it, that is actual physical material. So you can imagine yourself in a spaceship with a warp bubble around you, and when they say asymptotically flat space, that means it trends towards flat space. So around this warping area, there's an intense gravitational field that is trying to warp space-time in the contracting and expanding way we've been talking about, but that trends towards zero the further away you get from this warp bubble. Now, they found a couple of configurations that do, in fact, work mathematically, but none of those configurations they found to be superluminal. They all found them to be subluminal, in that they cannot travel. This warp bubble cannot travel faster than the speed of light. But the difference being is the difference is that the passengers are traveling at a quote-unquote regular speed, but the warp bubble is not. And with this difference, this is when you could get this crazy, crazy fast travel that would blow any chemical rocket out of the sky. So this kind of puts a damper on, an inertial damper on warp drives, because this is saying you still cannot travel faster than the speed of light. And that eliminates a lot of science-y fiction-y kind of stuff. Yes, traveling to Mars in 1 minute would be awesome, and you can do that with subluminal travel. But if you want to do Star Trek stuff, and you want to explore the entire galaxy, even if you're going the speed of light, it would take us 4.5 years to get to the next star. So there's no way you're exploring Quadrant 4 with Mr. Worf and Commander Data in any sort of real human lifetime, given that, you know, galaxies can be hundreds of thousands of light years across. So the only solution to that, well, Star Trek's solution to that was the warp drive that could travel superluminally, but a real physical manifestation of a warp drive seems right now like it has to still obey the light speed barrier. But in theory, you can still use this warping action to travel very, very quickly. Which is good. Best segue of all time, baby! I really forgot where I was going with that. Sooth the Savage Beast 72 says, with the Canadian 5, does the strength of the wielder play a role in the ability to break the sound barrier with a chain whip? E.g., is a bodybuilder more likely to do it? Well, I mean, I am pretty huge. You know, I'm super huge and jacked. But I'm guessing being able to put more energy into the whip would be very helpful, yes. But I wasn't able to do it. You can see large chains being whipped and it cracking, but it cracks on the ground. It's not through the air. Cable Dragon with the 19 says, hey Kyle, love the show, longtime fan. Finally caught a live, but no time to watch. I got a simp before I go back to work. I'll catch it on my commute home. Thank you so much. I just remembered I was going to put all of this on a Clubhouse room and broadcast it so y'all could listen to this live if you were in a car or something like that, but I forgot. If you want me to do that, let me know. House 9 with the 10 says, hey Kyle, Jesus man. Is that a thing? Why are we making that a thing? Do you think I'm just going to go into a bunch of temples and just flip over money changing tables? No. Yeah, I've read the Bible. Like twice all the way through. Jesuits, man. They are fine. Theoretically, if you put a black hole in front of a surface and then shine a flashlight at the black hole, would it have a normal shadow? Not all of the light that is pointed at a black hole gets sucked into the black hole. Like, you've seen those penny things, those coin depression circular things at the airport, when you put a coin in it and it goes... So, you know that a physical object interacting with something that is akin to like a warping of space-time, like the well that I'm talking about. You know that a physical object needs a certain trajectory to go down into the well. It could go directly into it. It could go kind of close to its influence such that it gains an orbit that will eventually drag it down. It can also get an orbit so that it perfectly orbits it forever, and it can also not orbit it at all and fly off. By which I mean, if you shine a giant flashlight at a black hole, some of the light because the light comes out in all directions from the flashlight, some of the light will be pointed directly down the black hole's maw, and it will go in. Some of the light will orbit around it and then decay and fall into the black hole. Other light still will establish itself, depending on the trajectory, in what's called a photon sphere. It's a region around a black hole in which literally photons are in a perfectly stable orbit, and they stay there. Isn't that wild? What would you see in a photon sphere? Probably like infinite versions of reflections of stuff. It'd be wild. And then still there'd be other light that would simply bend around it and continue on, gravitationally lensed by the black hole. So does that mean it would have a shadow? Yes. A black hole is a shadow in all directions. I'm the smartest man alive! I don't even think that's correct. Thomas, as usual, with the 20. Salutations, Science Hemsworth. I like that better. I'm going to start saying that. I almost missed out today because I was at my parents' house making steak for them because food is important. It's true. It made me want to ask you, what's the most delicious science you can think of? I like, what's the most delicious science I can think of? That's a question for Alton Brown, to be perfectly, food daddy, to be honest. I like stuff that takes advantage of pressure cookers. Just, you can get stuff to a higher temperature if you change the pressure, and vice versa. So taking advantage of thermodynamics to cook stuff, I like that. The Metal Barrett with a 10 says, Kaya! Finally made it to a live show to Sim for Science. So excited for the Mass Effect streams, but I encourage you to consider Elite Dangerous as another good title for spacey stuff. I will keep that in mind. Thank you. Riley Hanks with the 20 says, okay, simulation theory, but instead of a speculated or archaeological result, it's for education and accelerated development. Yeah, so the simulation argument rests on the idea that our future selves would want to simulate our past selves, run what Nick Bostrom, the philosopher, came up with a theory, calls ancestor simulations. So we could be, so if that was the case, then those future us's could be running this simulation that we call Meat Space, or think is Meat Space. They could be running this to learn from it, and that's still a valid. I think that's still a valid assumption, because what makes simulation theory powerful is that if you accept that these ancestor simulations are going to happen, what makes the simulation argument powerful is that there's going to be so many of them, and they could be run for a trillion different reasons, not just looking into the past or trying to study something or trying to learn something. Like, it could be done for any number of reasons, and because it could be done for a billion different reasons, if you're using an entire planet to calculate this stuff, as Nick Bostrom postulated, then the chances that you are in base reality are one out of those possibilities. So if you accept the trilemma of simulation theory, then your chances of being real, so to speak, is 1 in a billion or 1 in a trillion, right? So the chances that you are a simulation go way up, is the idea. Kristen Wegner, the Canadian 1669. Nice. With warp drive, when it's deactivated, wouldn't the ship still need to match the velocity of its destination? E.g., if you're going Earth to Mars, the initial velocity in the bubble would be Earth's orbital velocity. Yeah, so you're not with warp drive. My understanding is that you're not standing still relative to your destination, right? That's what real teleportation would be like. If you were suddenly teleported to the surface of Earth, but you were stationary from the perspective of Earth before that, when you encountered Earth, you'd have 1,000-mile-an-hour supersonic winds blowing past your body, and a house would hit you at 1,000 miles an hour and you'd be freaking dead. So I think the idea with warp drive is you're still traveling at some velocity, but you're inside of a warp bubble that is making the rapid travel possible. We have one of my security team with the 50, who definitely doesn't need to give me that. You're just flexing now, buddy. Just straight up flexing. Cody Nesbitt with the 10 says, up here in Alaska. Oh, I want to go to Alaska so bad. I kind of just want to just walk into the woods in general. But if it could be really, really pretty woods. Mm-hmm. Yep. Up here in Alaska, we don't get the northern lights quite like we used to. Could global warming have anything to do with that? I don't know. I don't think so. I would guess, since the sun has solar cycles that it runs through every 11 years or so, if I'm remembering correctly, the amount of material being ejected from the sun can change over time, and what the sun is ejecting and the solar wind changes over time. I'm guessing. I'm not a heliophysicist. But if that pattern and those emissions are changing over time, then the charged particles entering our atmosphere and our magnetosphere would also change. So I'm guessing over the scale that you're wondering about this, maybe it hasn't been long enough to get supercharged or a lot again. You know, if we haven't seen great northern lights in like 2 or 3 years, 4 years, that might easily be within some sort of solar cycle of ejection and emission and that kind of thing. Daedric online with the Australian $5 says, I am 31 and haven't achieved much in my life. Same. I've always been extremely intrigued by astrology. At my age, is it too late for me? Love your content. I think you mean astronomy. I'll say this. If you have the means and it's not going to seriously affect your life and your relationships, it is never too old to get an education. Again, if you have the means and it's not going to mess up your whole life, and you're going to have to leave everyone at home and your relationships are going to degrade and all that. But it's never too late to get to expand your mind. And if you're really interested in something like astronomy, as I was in college too, look into some community college programs, night school programs, stuff, or find some online classes that are free that you can take to kind of taste it a little bit to see if it's something that you actually want to pursue. If you do mean astrology, and is it too late for you to learn astrology? No, because all you have to do to learn astrology is just make a bunch of stuff up. Here, watch this. We've known for thousands of years, of course, that the influence of Venus on the developing human body is substantial and profound, especially when you're born around March 21st or so, about 6:35 in the morning. Of course, we know that depending on the rotation of Venus, you can either turn out with personality type A, B. See how legit I sound? It's almost like there's no actual informational content in it. I can take shots at astrology. It's nonsense. Jeb Mordeno, I hope you didn't mean that, and I hope you meant astronomy. Because I don't want to make fun of you. But you don't need to go to school for astrology. Jeb Mordeno with the $9.99. Hey, Kyle, big fan. What would space be like if it wasn't empty? Like if sound could travel through space. If sound could travel through space, the sun would be about as loud as a jackhammer. All the time, everywhere, for everyone. These are things I know. It's already rendered with the 10 says, hey, Science Hemsworth, thank you for paying attention to that. Would you do an episode on 3D printing? I was in contact with that company, maybe you've heard, Matter Hacks, I think their name is, and I wanted to get a 3D printer from them. I've yet to own or play with a 3D printer, and that's something I hope to rectify in the coming month. Kabuki Ruiz says, Kyle, you're freaking me out for a second. Ravdos says, almost missed the Kyle, but here I am. My Kyle with the hot take. Making... Lazy Eye says, though, astronomy has like almost no career options, either academics or never find a job in your field. I will say that if you want to go into like a PhD program or something like that, you better be darn sure you want to do something like teaching or researching. Because getting something like a PhD just to have one is a very arduous process. And I have many friends who have gotten their PhDs and have had, obviously it's incredibly difficult. So they've had incredibly difficult times, and they said, you know, after they didn't go into academia, they're like, wow, that was a lot of years of my life that I spent doing that, you know. Elizabeth Calvert, Liz with the 20 says, Kyle, I think I spoke to the Kevin that master of all let escape yesterday helping a customer. His name was Kevin, and his partner complained he messes stuff up all the time, but needs him for basic things like cooking. Now, I mean, Kevins have their uses. They're like Meeseeks. Cringe with the 5 says, dodging the Warhammer question. Nobody escapes the wrath of the Emperor, but seriously, would love to see some science on the Grimdark. I have never played Warhammer, and I have no idea about the lore or how you play it or I have no idea about anything of it. I'm not dodging the question. I just have no experience with it and cannot comment intelligently about it. Neo Vex says, hey, yo Kyle, what are your religious views? Oh, so you want me to answer an easy question, huh? It doesn't matter. I'm here to talk to you about sciencey stuff and sciencey things. Not here to influence your views on the fate of the universe and why you're here. But I will say that there are a number of ways you could look at and interrogate and interpret the universe. One of the, without a doubt, the most successful way, the way that works the best the most, is observing nature, coming up with theories about how it works, and then testing those theories against experiment as rigorously and as objectively as you possibly can, and then moving forward with that knowledge to make that body of knowledge progressive, in that we get smarter and smarter. We know more and more and more. It builds on itself. We call this progressive body of building knowledge science in the scientific enterprise. And if you follow the scientific enterprise, it seems to me that there are good explanations for things, and there are very bad explanations for things that do not fit with what we observe in the universe. So, my view changes with the evidence, and right now I see evidence for certain viewpoints of the universe and virtually no evidence for other viewpoints of the universe. And I'm very well versed in differing viewpoints. I went to private Catholic school for 14 years, 16 years, 14 years. So it's not like I'm coming at this from no experience, but in my interpretation, there is a lot of evidence in favor of some explanations over others. And I will challenge you to establish the same discrepancy in your life. What do you interpret and observe to make the most sense? Can you prove that? Why? Now you have stepped towards solving the ultimate questions. Ben Cowlis says, I have 3 PhDs. It's boring. Now building hover bikes. Oh, now I'm building hover bikes and it's a lot of fun. I don't know if you're being serious, but you have 3 PhDs. Why? Smarty McSmarterson. Papa Rofe says, how do we know you're not a deepfake of the supervillain Kyle that we know and love? Jason Biggs says, I should deepfake you into the Thor movie. Somebody did do that. Someone deepfaked my face into Thor Ragnarok, and I couldn't find that video before going live. So it has happened before, and if anything, it goes to show you how much more handsome he is than me. You're like when you don't see us next to each other, you're like, oh, that's kind of in the ballpark. But when you see us next to each other, it's like, my friend Eric Webb, good friend Eric, says with the 5, happy anniversary, Kyle. Not a lot of spare cash. It's totally fine. Eric, I can't ask for anything other than you being here, but want to congratulate you on all the hard work and the incredible success of the facility. I'm very, very happy with it. And to end things off, again, you guys have been fantastic today. I can't thank you enough. Maybe it has something to do with the anniversary. I did get something very, very nice from my facility members that they did for me for the anniversary, and I might put that out as a video. I have to review it after the stream, actually. But Elizabeth Calvert, with the $100 donation from her and her tiny human, Kyle, wanted to thank you for all you do and your hard work and let you know I'm amazed by your resilience. Also, Tiny Human has decided your name is Science Kyle. Well, this Science Kyle is signing off for this week. Thank you so much for joining me on my new rig, in my new aspect of the facility. I know it's not perfect. I know we're still working things out, but I think everything should be running a lot smoother at the very least. Thank you all for joining me and being here with me in the facility for the last year. I cannot do this without you, and I hope to live up to your standards and to continue educating and entertaining you to the very best of my abilities. This week, we will be looking into a critical weakness in the monkey that shall fight Godzilla. This month, we'll have another Half-Life Histories once I write it, and a lot more fun stuff to come, including live streaming some Mass Effect with Commander Shepard herself. Yeah, you heard right. Have a wonderful rest of your week. I can't wait to talk to you again. If you want to continue on this conversation after the stream, you can go, as my security team is now doing, you can go to patreon.com/KyleHill and join the Discord. Start talking to me, and I'll send you a silky white lab coat. Not actually, I'm still working on that. But have a wonderful rest of your week. Thank you, Dr. Strange Show, for the 50. I know you're always here. That's what I love about y'all. You're always here. And since you're always here for me, I want you to remember that you should also try to be here for each other, because this is all we got. Until next time.